All right, my babies. The previous video was an interesting one because I was kind of like reflecting on our size pertaining to the experiences that we actually like go through, and how sometimes we shrink ourselves or allow ourselves to be reduced by the experience, and how the experience isolates us at times if we allow it and all that stuff, right? But how it isolates us from a perspective beyond its own scope. It's funny, I tried to explain it. I hope I did a good job. But it only makes sense that it's the first time I actually think about it. So in future videos, what happens is basically the same thought comes up and it reiterates itself differently. And I use it to actually like elaborate on different things, and that's how we kind of like roll and we expand our mind. But today's video is understanding that an investment is never in the business, but the founder himself. I must have been researching some shit, but that's my understanding. And well, it's true because our capabilities are limitless. And ultimately, this unlimited approach is really something that just is really what we express, or how limited we are towards our limitlessness is basically where our expression of ourselves is. True? And maybe I can use the greats as an example. Pick one. Isaac Newton expressed himself through the creation of calculus, through basically figuring out laws that we operate with. And his laws basically have been refuted in multiple ways, but we base 90% of our math on it. It doesn't really matter. Like the math is correct. It's just like what comes out of it, because we learn new things as we progress and we evolve and we kind of like take steps forward in time. So the reason I mentioned Isaac Newton is because when people gave him money just to do math, they gave him money because they were fascinated by him. I think there's the Royal Academy or something that that was started because of him. And that's the initial like funding, like venture funding that started happening. That right now is kind of like rampant around the world. Like everyone's looking for something to kind of like invest in, right? So granted, I am approaching a business, but thinking of him, I'm thinking of, for example, like Albert Einstein's work. Even thinking of spiritual leaders, philosophical leaders, social leaders, like the people that were interacting with them came to an agreement that they are worth something, even though most of the time they had nothing, what they contributed was not understood. Like there's a theory that Einstein submitted at one point, and it has something to do with like radiation. He didn't like that theory. He saw it to be the blunder. But that the same theory is what we were able to like use in 2016, I think, for us to kind of like visually see the wave, the radiation waves of like, I think the cosmos or something, how we were able to kind of like envision a black hole, and how we were able to kind of like see a machine that creates waves. It was like we were able to see it simply because of his kind of like theories. Anyways, I'm not the best at explaining this because I only read it once. Remember, I read 3 times in order to completely understand. But you as the person are the whole. You as the person is the instigator. You are the person is the trigger. You are the person is, you are literally everything and nothing all at once. Because ultimately it all comes back to you and the choice you make. And I was probably researching some shit or watching some videos about how to be better at like managing a business, creating a business, doing something regarding my platform. And I decided to write that down, like understanding as an investment is never in the business, but in the founder himself or herself. Hey, the truth is, whatever you're presenting or whatever was created as a business, the business is a concept, by the way, right? That everyone agreed to. The same as a country. A country is a concept that everyone agrees to. The same as an organization, and even to a point, the same as a skill, right? Like, carpentry only started existed when people decided they wanted to shape things from wood. And so ultimately, it only makes sense that whatever you're trying to sell as a creation of yours is only going to be sold because of you, because you're the person that's making it happen. You're the person that's allowing it to exist or expanding its existence. But deep, man, to be able to look at it deeply myself, what would be a better way to kind of like explore or experience? See, here is where insecurities maybe come to play. Or I'm not feeling anything right now, which is good, which means my insecurities have kind of like been plucked out. But at a point like this, I don't have any belief system that supports my success, which is perfectly fine. It's kind of like by design. Because any system you initiate, you will probably have to change later, right? So you have to be on top of the system itself in order to be able to like realize when you have to change it or adjust it. So right now, I'm not really like believing in my success, whether as a person or a business. But I think it's because it really doesn't matter. And the reality is, I'm doing what I want to do towards the things that I want to do. And ultimately, if I like failure, I'm going to be more driven towards failing. But you can only fail once, and that's it. You can't repeat the failure. You have to fail in different times. But then eventually, you fail enough times, you find you have to succeed enough to be able to fail again, right? So either way, whatever it is you're kind of like investing your time in is going to move in the direction of success, whether you like it or not, as long as you don't really like stop doing it, as long as your intention towards it doesn't really stop. Well, the fun part about it right now is what I'm experiencing. It's truly just me under looking at myself and going, I'm not, and I just ask myself, what kind of person am I? But I have no idea. I don't know what kind of person am I. I don't know what kind of person. This is a 2 month old video, man. This is a 2 month old. No, I don't know what kind of person you have to be. And I think that's where true authenticity comes. Like, how bad of an idea is it for you to just be the way you are, right? Because you can attempt things that other people have done, and you might succeed at their things, but it's not really success. It's not really you. And me looking at this note that I wrote a while back, it's making me see just. I wrote it probably with feeling. I wrote it probably with a passion. I wrote it probably with like, hey man, like it's not what you're doing. It's like sometimes I have these debates with myself. Am I putting enough effort on my work? Am I not? Is this work? Is this not? And I'm slowly remembering where this is, this where this kind of came about, or how it came about. I don't know what to tell you about this video, man. This is literally me just like diving into the nothingness that's in my head, but that was never the case. Right now, I'm kind of like just empty towards the subject. But I think that's a breakthrough. I don't really think it's. At one point, if I had nothing to think about pertaining a subject, I'd feel some kind of way. But now it only makes sense. It makes more sense that I don't have anything to think about. That means I kind of like I'm okay with it. I'm kind of like at peace with it. I'm not anxious about it. I'm not trying to handle it or trying to deal with it. At the current moment, I believe what I wrote, understanding that investment is never in the business but the founder himself. But the founder is me, right? And every single one of us has a project where we are our founders. And every one of us thinks of stuff that kind of like would support, I don't know, whatever it is. We're always kind of debating things with ourselves. But it's when this debate is over where you truly are able to kind of like input whoever you are into whatever it is you're doing. It's a video.